I got this real moron thing I do. It's called thinking.
Simon & Schuster Audio presents Last Words by George Carlin with Tony Hendra. Read by Patrick Carlin. Featuring a conversation with Kelly Carlin and Tony Hendra.
Tony, I was curious about how this book originally came to be.
Well, I should probably explain that I knew George from way, way back, and we first got to meet one another in 1964 when we were both sort of struggling comedians, and we both were sort of hanging out in the village and appearing at a place called, rather unfortunately named, the Café Au Go-Go, which was sort of one of these nexuses of young performers, singers, and comics and musicians. And we had several things in common, and after that sort of initial meeting, we sort of were friendly competitors throughout the rest of the 60s, and then kind of parted company in much the same kind of way when George rebelled very much against the orthodoxy and censorship of 60s comedy and underwent his sort of first major transformation. And I did something very similar, putting all this stuff behind me and becoming one of the original editors of the National Lampoon. And then we sort of lost touch with one another until the mid-'80s, when I decided, after doing 25 years of satire, that I'd now probably write about it. And I put a book together which was this upgrowth of radical and irreverent humor that began in the mid-'50s and then matured in the '60s. And a little after that, I think he got the author bug himself and started working around, I would say sometime in the late '80s, on an autobiography, which around 92 he asked me to take a look at. And what it was 100 pages. He actually called it The 100 Pages. It had no other title, which dealt with the first 6 years of his life in very funny detail, but sort of interspersed with these rather self-conscious, author sort of passages. And I pointed out that the math here was going to mean that if he did and wrote an account of the first 60 years of his life, the book would be 1,000 pages long, which even in an era of morbidly obese memoirs would probably be a bit much. And he said, yeah, he knew that. That's why I was reading the fucking thing. And that really sparked the whole process, because he said he needed someone to help. And so began the always hilarious and very erratic process of documenting the life and time.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?